So thank you for making time to be here this morning for the closeout meeting of the Water Telemetry Technical Group. I'm Laurel Dodgen, and I am the supervisor of the Telemetry Research Unit here at California State Water Board. So a bit of housekeeping first. We are going to record this presentation for people who can't be here for this meeting. And then we will stop the recording for the comment and question period in order to facilitate that conversation. So if you don't want to be part of the recording, you can feel free to drop off now, and then you'll have access to the recording later. All right. So a little bit of brief background. In California, we have about 40,000 active water rights for consumptive use, representing about 245 million acre feet each year. That is quite astounding, I sometimes think. But you look at that, and about 95% of that water is actually encompassed in just under 1,000 water rights, all of which have face values of over 10,000 acre feet. So the Division of Water Rights at the Water Boards has a mission to administer those water rights in order to protect health and human safety, protect the water right priority system and in-stream flow requirements, and to project water demand in order to make informed management decisions and enable things like managed aquifer recharge. The division uses information in annual reports and statements that are submitted by water right holders in order to make these resource management decisions. However, we know that annual reports of water data can lag up to 18 months after the actual water diversion or use. And this is a substantial barrier to good management decisions. So we are looking into telemetry, which is the automatic measurement and automatic transmission of data in order to get real-time data for timely and targeted management. Telemetry data can let resource managers make decisions that reflect current conditions by showing who is using water, when they are using the water, and how much water they're using. Telemetry water monitoring data has many benefits, including supporting management decisions, such as protecting senior water right holders through more targeted curtailments, reducing government costs by reducing staff hours needed to clean up and manage data, and facilitating drought solutions like managed aquifer recharge and water trading. Due to the importance of telemetry data for future water resiliency, the Telemetry Research Unit was created at water boards to build institutional knowledge and make recommendations about telemetry water monitoring and reporting. This unit is a research group inside of water boards and has no regulatory or enforcement components. The Telemetry Research Unit has several projects currently in work or in plan for the coming years. We have this technical group that we're closing out now. We also have a pilot project coming up in the next couple of years, and we are currently seeking volunteers for the pilot project. So if you're interested in learning more or potentially volunteering, we'll have a little bit more information at the end of this presentation. And finally, after the pilot project, we'll do a comprehensive report to the board with recommendations for future telemetry in California. Before this telemetry technical group, we first had our launch meeting about a year ago. Then we spent the summer sending out questionnaires and having follow-up meetings with active volunteers. And we're having this closeout meeting now to discuss the results of that work and with a final report anticipated in the fall. So if you are interested in providing comments on that draft report that you were sent out earlier in the week, we are interested to hear your comments. Please try to return them by email by the end of July so that we have time to incorporate them. That draft report, it covers information that we gathered from several sources, including conversations with our technical group members, as well as staff evaluations of data submitted for SB 88 compliance, and then interviews with equipment manufacturers. The report covers several topics that we'll get into, including issues of costs, operation and maintenance, transmission, and data. Monitoring can represent a significant cost, especially for small organizations. The pie chart on the left represents costs for initial setup as reported by technical group members. You can see that about a third of members reported spending about $1,000 to $4,000 on their initial setup costs, but then a quarter reported spending $8,000 to $20,000 on their initial setup costs, and that's quite a range there. Similarly, if you look at annual O&M, you have about half of members reporting spending $100 to $500 a year on their O&M, but then a quarter said they spent over $5,000 a year on their O&M. Finally, if you look down at the bottom, the SB 19 Stream Gauging Prioritization Plan, which evaluates installing telemetry water monitoring for in-stream flow evaluation, found costs of $28,000 to $43,000 for initial setup, and then about $30,000 per site for annual O&M. And so you look at this huge range of potential costs, and it's easy to think, what on earth is driving this range? And so based on our conversations with equipment manufacturers and technical group members, these wide range of costs are driven by differences in the monitoring situations and specifically the labor involved. All technical group members reported that labor is their primary monitoring cost, and that labor is driven by the monitoring situation. A simple diversion in a pipe needs limited calibration and is protected from many sources of damage. In contrast, in-stream flow measurements need rating curve development and update and often travel to more remote locations. Likewise, the monitoring parameters are important in driving cost. Stage height and temperature can be more stable and more simple to monitor, while parameters like in-stream flow and pH can need frequent calibration. The number of site visits for maintenance, calibration, and repair, and also the travel time to the site, strongly drives labor cost and overall cost. Technical group members mentioned a few approaches they use to reduce costs. Investing in more reliable equipment with higher initial costs, but that requires fewer site visits for O&M. Collaborating with other organizations so that sites that are far away can be visited by closer staff to reduce the travel time. Investing in telemetry equipment so that they can review the data regularly and only travel to the site when they notice a data abnormality instead of on a regular maintenance schedule. And then finally, using automated software tools to perform initial data screening to save staff time on reviewing data. Many of these approaches to save costs also improve data quality by quickly identifying data problems. Environmental monitoring requires extensive expertise. Several members expressed difficulties in finding information or resources to perform monitoring. They reported difficulties in determining equipment selection, something that was reliable, that could accurately capture the parameters at their site, such as if they had a very low flow condition, or maybe they had another monitoring site that had very variable flow where they're trying to do some low flow, but also flood flow. They reported problems with figuring out how to correctly install their equipment. And this led to problems like getting false readings on mag meters because the mag meter is improperly grounded. We also heard that there was problems with calibration schedules, that there was a lot of confusion because there was conflicting perspectives from manufacturer recommendations, but then regulatory requirements, and then their own data evaluation, talking about the quality of the data. A few members reported that they felt they didn't have the organizational knowledge to perform this monitoring because the monitoring was not a primary business function. And so they tried to use contractors to perform their monitoring when feasible and within budget. Again, members expressed the utility of telemetry and automated review to improve their monitoring operations. Reviewing data as it's collected allowed members to catch data problems quickly and also avoid unneeded maintenance and calibration. Members shared information about 4 sites that used cellular transmission, 2 that used radio, and 1 that used satellite. Members also shared about 4 sites that did not have telemetry data and where data was retrieved by manual download. For these monitoring sites, members generally expressed an interest in telemetry data and either reported that they were actively pursuing upgrading the sites or that they had investigated the telemetering the sites, but it wasn't within budget. As Table 3 in the draft report summarizes, transmission options have a huge variety of considerations, including whether you have coverage for that transmission option at your site, how frequently you'll transmit data, the size of the data transmission, what kind of power supply is available at the site, your operating budget for transmission, such as cellular and commercial satellites often charge proportional to your data usage, but radio is agnostic to the usage. Your budget for infrastructure, such as repeater stations for radio communication, and then need for two-way communication to your equipment. The right option is going to be specific to the monitoring situation, the program goals, and the budget. For data, members reported accessing their data in 4 ways. About a third accessed it in an online dashboard that was provided by an equipment manufacturer, such as Institute's HydroView. About a third downloaded the data from their data logger and managed it in spreadsheets like Excel. And the remainder had custom solutions where the data transmitted to a data system, such as a SCADA or a HADS, and so had a more advanced approach to their data management. A few members reported also downloading their data, then doing reformatting and uploading it to another data management service like Whiskey, and then inside of Whiskey performing data integration and validation. So there's quite a range in how people are managing their data. Members reported that they currently use automated software tools for their initial quality assurance and quality control. And then that automated QA/QC is followed by final staff review and approval. For example, member 7 reported that their equipment automatically flags data gaps and includes a message with a suspected cause. Then their staff would review that flag and message before approving the data set. All members reported doing some amount of manual data review, and that institutional knowledge and experience was the most important aspect of evaluating and validating data. While a few members had documented their review processes and formalized SOPs, most relied solely on staff experience. The frequency of data review depended a lot on organization size, their budget, and staffing levels. Small organizations and organizations with untelemetry data reported infrequent review, often only annually before reporting the data, or and when needed in order to do O&M. Larger organizations reported some amount of weekly review, but often postponed thorough QA/QC until the reporting window. Most members reported reviewing data as part of their maintenance process, where questionable data acts as a trigger to visit the site and inspect or maintain the equipment. So members who lacked telemetry equipment reported visiting sites on a regular cycle to perform anticipated maintenance and perform their data collection. The static arrangements can lead to site visits before maintenance is actually needed, and also lead to data loss when maintenance is needed and occurs undetected. Members with telemetry equipment were able to perform data-driven maintenance and repair, with site visits triggered by data anomalies. Member 3 reported that telemetry has improved their ability to more quickly identify erroneous values or when the station needs maintenance, and overall improving their data quality and maintenance efforts. As part of this technical group project, staff reviewed data submitted for compliance with SB 88 reporting. Many water right holders are required under SB 88's water measurement regulations to monitor their water diversion use and report it to the water board. The frequency of measurements and reporting vary by the face value volume of the water right. The largest diverters are also required to post their hourly measurement data to a public website, which is somewhat inaccurately referred to as a telemetry requirement in the regulations. So For 2021, about 5,000 files of water monitoring data were submitted by SB88 reporters. For example, while these 5,000 files named about 8,500 different parameters, when staff evaluated these parameters, there was only about 40 unique parameters and 40 unique units. The other parameters and units were various synonyms and abbreviations. And so this huge chunk of files that are completely unstandardized come with various problems, including having metadata mixed in with the data, sometimes lack of parameter names and lack of unit names, these inconsistent names that we mentioned, and elements in these data files that aren't tabular, such as images that aren't really readable by a computer. In a very real sense, each file that's submitted for SB88 is like its own language, which is useful and relevant to the needs of its owner. But when you have a room full of people all speaking a different language, it's a significant barrier to cooperation and decision-making, and results in substantial government expense in staff labor and delayed response to emerging management situations. From this technical group experience and the SB88 file review and the interviews with equipment manufacturers, staff of the Telemetry Research Unit developed 5 key areas where the Water Board can help improve the quality of reported monitoring data. Accurate and timely data is essential for resource management, and the Water Board can address these key areas to improve the quality and timeliness of data. So first, there is preliminary water monitoring requires technical expertise to select appropriate equipment, install the equipment correctly for the site conditions, and calibrate and maintain the equipment. So we recommend that the Water Board develop educational resources and staff to offer technical information on equipment selection, equipment O&M, automated review of data, and data management and data governance. Second, monitoring can represent a significant cost for small organizations. And so we recommend that the Water Board offer financial incentives to small organizations for initial procurements to help organizations afford the more reliable equipment, the more automated telemetered equipment that has overall lower O&M and that reduces delays in data review and submission. Number 3 is that telemetering the monitoring data and automating the data review can help reduce O&M costs, increase data quality, and speed up the timeline to get usable data into the hands of decision makers. But we found that reporters often delay data review until reporting window. And so we do recommend that the Water Board consider requiring reporters to perform regular data retrieval and review, preferably through telemetry and automated software review. Number 4, when regulation requirements don't align with technical recommendations, regulations may impose additional costs and data gaps, such as when a regulation requires a piece of equipment to be calibrated before the manufacturer's recommendation, and then that piece of equipment needs to be uninstalled and sent to the manufacturer for calibration. We recommend that Water Board review current regulations and remove prescriptive language that requires specific maintenance and calibration actions in favor of language that supports functional goals, such as following manufacturers' recommendations. And finally, many data formats are currently being used by manufacturers and by reporters due to lack of acceptance of a single data standard. And this minimizes the utility of data and causes reporter confusion and increases staffing costs. So we do recommend that the Water Board promulgate a specific data standard for monitoring data and the metadata associated with it that aligns with other accepted data standards to reduce reporter confusion and to encourage manufacturers to support the standardized data in a way that makes it simple for reporters. This technical group project was a year-long effort by my staff to prepare for our coming pilot telemetry project that we'll conduct over the next few years. This pilot project, it will occur over 2025 to 2028 in the Russian River watershed. We're going to be collaborating with volunteers in the area and the California Water Data Consortium to install new telemetry water monitoring equipment or upgrade existing equipment to be telemetred at around 75 sites. We're planning to conduct water monitoring for over a water year and then use the results to evaluate best practices, costs, logistics, and data governance around telemetry water monitoring. If this is interesting for you and you want more information, you can read about this project at the California Water Data Consortium's website, or also reach out to the California Water Data Consortium. They are acting as a contractor for us to evaluate best practices before we get into the work of the project. If you have any interest in volunteering, we would love to talk to you more. We have several benefits planned for our volunteers, including the ability to keep the equipment at the project end if you wish, and this will be new telemetry monitoring equipment that comes with training documents so you can use it successfully. This equipment will be configured by staff to perform water monitoring at your location, collect parameters needed for SB88 reporting, and then will be connected to state data systems already so that you'll have an established transmission pathway for your data. It's also an opportunity for volunteers to provide feedback to staff about real challenges at their monitoring site and contribute to plans for simplified water reporting in the future. Participation in the pilot project is completely optional. This project is for research only and has no enforcement component. So if that sounds interesting to you and want to learn more, I do hope you'll reach out. We'll move on to questions and comments about the draft report or about this presentation, but thank you for your attention.